Hello, everyone. Well, I am excited today because I am wearing my Plaza ensemble for the June challenge that we have going on featuring our artist, Gustav Klimt. And so for the month of June, for So Confident, we have been talking about this artist challenge that we have been doing. Betsy and I filmed a video and she put together an amazing presentation. We've gotten some great feedback about our June artist challenge so far, and just the hour and a half presentation that we have for you guys on your course page. If you are a June So Confident member, either by the year, by the month, or by the summer school series, you can purchase the summer school series for $101, where you get access to June and July. And so for June, you had to take the Plaza jacket and order at least a yard of fabric at sewingworkshop.com, and then you would get a free Klimt panel. So I chose to take the Plaza jacket, lengthen it 9 inches, and then add piping to the sleeves and to the side seams. So my panel isn't the main feature of my variation of the Plaza. It's kind of like a little secret. Like, I didn't actually incorporate the whole panel. Actually, the whole panel is in my jacket. It's just wrapped in piping, so it's a little bit different look. But we've loved seeing your Plaza jacket challenges come in. You've been sending them to Betsy and myself via email if you don't have Instagram. Otherwise, you have until the whole month of June. We may extend it a few days to give you guys a little more time, because I know we are still shipping panels out. We're getting close to getting those out. So we will be sending those out, and you guys have the whole month of June plus a day or two extra to work on your Plaza jacket projects. So thank you to everyone who's participated so far and who is going to participate in everything we have going on in the summer. So I made a whole ensemble. So I have my Plaza jacket. We just made this ET out of a sweater knit, and then I'm making helix pants. So I've got a whole thing going on. So just a couple reminders. We haven't fully announced this yet, but we've mentioned prizes. We will have 5 prizes. Now, we're not going to do prizes like ranking people based on like the best or anything like that. They're more like what I would call senior superlatives. So when I was in high school, we had this whole challenge my senior year where all the seniors were named senior superlatives: most likely to be president, best hair. I always felt really snubbed that I didn't get best hair because I really felt like I should have. So think of our June challenge prizes as senior superlatives in categories that are kind of fun. So remember to think about your pictures. We love seeing your pictures. So think about your setting, think about where you are, think about the quality of your picture. I'm going to give you guys some little prompts to consider for the prizes. And if you've already submitted, you can resend in a picture. That's totally fine. Think about what would be on the cover of a magazine. I actually noticed in Vogue last month, Kendall Jenner was riding a horse with a garment that looked a lot like the Plaza jacket last month. Think about how you're experimenting with your panel. Think about the creative use that you're using with your Plaza jacket pattern, and think about the wow factor. Think about the thing that's just going to make everyone go, whoa, I had no idea that was a Plaza. I had no idea that was a garment. Even with my garment, whoa, I didn't really even think to just add piping, or I didn't even think to add the panel in such a small way. Because again, you can only use an inch, and that's okay. You can use all or an inch. So here's a little sneak peek of what I've been making for June. And like I said, we're so excited and thankful and love seeing what you guys are coming up with. So that's the month of June. And today for our live stream, I'm going to pass it over to Linda. She's, of course, got a stash fabric for us. And then we have a special guest, Samantha, on with us today. Actually, I never showed these slides. So our June Artist Challenge, if you post to Instagram, you'll use this hashtag to help us follow and locate your Klimt panel project using the Plaza jacket. Here's an example of the Plaza jacket that we've been showing. where here is a lapel and where Linda Wardlow has used the panel integrator way with our plaza jacket pattern. You can use any variation of the plaza or another sewing workshop pattern. We're not going to disqualify you if you use another pattern, but we are recommending the plaza because that's our pattern of the month and what we talk about a lot in the video. And then today on our live stream, we're talking about the cottage shirt. So we've recently received this new fabric, and here is the cottage shirt. Linda is wearing it in a print that we had, I think, last summer or a couple of years ago. And then Erin is wearing the cottage shirt as a tunic or a dress. So you can use this yardage that we have. We're going to talk more about this today, and you're going to use this fabric for a cottage shirt. That's kind of what we're recommending. But you can see this beautiful fabric. We're calling it the Flower Pop Cottage Shirt. You can even lengthen it and make a cottage dress. So let's hand it over to Linda and say hey.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before we get into the cottage, I want to do a couple of things. Well, first of all, you know, I love books, and I love picture books, and I love books that are just weird. So years ago, I read about this very famous book called Fashionable Selby. Well, this Todd Selby is quite an interesting guy. And like 10 years ago, he started photographing his friends in their natural settings at home or whatever. And so he put together this book called Something About Home. I've kind of forgotten. It was his first one. And then his second one was Fashionably Selby, which is all about fashion designers. But he goes into, you know, the homes and studios of creative people and kind of gets into how they work and all of that. So I've had this for a few years, and I have to admit it was kind of pricey because there's kind of a cult following of this Todd Selby, and this book is, I don't know if it's even in print actually, but you can still get it. But his latest one is The Selby Comes Home. And I love this because I love the style that he's done. But he goes into people's, wouldn't you know, I wouldn't turn to the page that I want here. Let's see. Yeah, so, you know, he handwrites a question, and both the parents and the kids answer it. And it's just hilarious, really, and very interesting. And you get a sneak peek into these creative people's homes, and they aren't like anything you've ever seen. I mean, this is not traditional decorating in any way. So I'm just suggesting that if you are interested in this kind of a picture book with a few wise words about being creative, check them out. All right, I have my stash fabric today. This is a piece of linen, and it is only 45 inches wide, which is sort of weird because linens are usually about 60 inches wide. But this one is a woven stripe, and you can see that the stripes vary across the width. Because of the width, I purchased 3.5 yards. I don't know, though. I'm thinking as I look at it, it would make a great pair of West End pants because each leg would be different. But it'd make a great dress. It'd make a great cottage dress. So 3.5 yards, $45, no shipping domestically. If you're interested, email me at linda@sewingworkshop.com, and it's yours. So, okay. So, Samantha, where are you?
Right here. Hello.
All right. Well, for those of you who haven't met Samantha, she's our resident. Anything we need that needs a little edgy detail or turn this pattern into something else completely, that's what Samantha likes to do. Like, what do you have on?
Yes, I'm wearing the Detour jacket that I made into a dress.
Can you believe that? Take the Detour jacket and make a dress. I think it is so amazing. I would never have thought of it.
Yeah,
but it's so cute.
I love it. It's a great summer weight, fun dress.
And you like dresses because of where you live?
Yes, I have to have dresses because of where I live.
The humidity, you live in Charleston, basically Charleston, North Carolina. Sullivan's Island.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It's very
All
hot,
right.
humid. So I became a dress girl once we moved here 30 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So we had this fabric. Alex, can you highlight this fabric? There we go. So we got this fabric, and everyone around here loves it. We call it kind of a faux Marimekko. We don't know the designer. We got it from someone who does purchase from designers, but they're not always able to tell us, well, they're unwilling, I'll put it that way, to tell us the designer, because the designer has said, nobody can know it's from us or whatever it is. But anyway, we like it anyway. It's all cotton, beautiful, beautiful cotton. But these, I don't know, the colors and this whole modern representation, I guess, of flowers was just interesting. So we sent this fabric to Samantha, and along with a couple of other things. And she put together this garment, which is just so cute. So this is the cottage shirt. So Samantha, tell us what we did to this, what you did to this.
Well, I did quite a few things to that. The first thing that I can talk about, because the pattern piece is so small, is the collar. I took the original collar piece here, and I hope you can see against how I exaggerated it out.
Yep.
Made it much more, but I don't know if you can really see it on the garment. But I don't know why I did that. But the other thing I did was, for the hem, I used this beautiful green, which looks fantastic with it, as the hem on the bottoms. So I took my original pattern piece.
Hey, Alex, can you do a split screen? Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. So you can see the green where I actually made a new pattern piece, added the 5/8 to each of the bottom hem and the original piece, so that I could make the hem then that fun little pop of color. And then on the actual button placket, I put this. Did I put this on the diagonal?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Yes, I thought I did. So I had to make another pattern piece for that as well, and add the 5/8 to each one, so that I could have that little pop right there.
Yeah, because normally this is a self fold back band facing, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, you had to create a separate piece for it.
Yes. So, you just copy it and add 5/8 to each side. And
Exactly.
so it's real
Yeah.
easy to do. It was just a lot of fiddling to get the front and the back to make sure they lined up, but they did, because I was careful.
Yeah.
And then I did the same thing on the arms, where you turn those back. I used the green, but I didn't change any dimensions or add anything like I normally do. If I was making a dress, I would have probably added anywhere between 16 to 18 inches, depending on where I wanted it to land. But it's great. It's so cute, isn't it?
It's just darling. And it's just perfect for summer. It's a happy garment. Here, I was trying to get this collar to show up a little bit. There, maybe a better view of the exaggerated collar.
Yes. Yes.
And you also made the stand in the green.
Green.
Right. And you did one more thing.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I know.
I put that little strip of flat piping. I guess it's piping or flat.
Yeah, it's flat piping, because there's no fill to it. There's no inside to it. It's flat. Yeah. I think that's nice. That sets it off.
Yeah, it just gives
And
it
of
a
course, the
little touch.
hem in the back is the same green. I wouldn't have thought of that. That's a really good idea. So, I mean, that's making some changes, but it's not an overwhelming thing to do.
No, I thought about adding studs, rhinestones,
Yeah.
stitching, but this fabric is just so joyful and fun and
Yeah.
fresh. You hate to mess it up.
Well, I agree with that. It can carry on its own, and these just add little pops, little elements that give it just kind of that little couture look, like you thought a little bit more about it than just making a shirt out of the same fabric.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, so
Correct.
if you were making this into a dress, which you actually might do, or maybe even have you made a cottage as a dress?
I have not. I have
Would
not.
you?
Absolutely, I would.
Okay.
I
So
think that
you
bottom
mentioned that,
hem would be so
right. So
fun.
how you mentioned you would add what, 16 to 18 inches? Is that what you said?
Yes, I held up the original cottage to the dresses that I make, and between 16 to 18 is what I would normally add.
And the pattern piece is, if I remember correctly, is straight.
Yes, pretty much. I mean,
Oh,
it has
right.
a little bit, but it's
Just have
pretty.
a little bit. So would you just continue on down?
I
Uh,
would. You know
yeah,
me.
you wouldn't try to straighten it out or curve it or.
I mean, you could cut here and then add the length in between those two pieces, but because it's just straight up and down, I don't know if you really want to do that. Just
Yeah,
add it
I
at the
think
bottom.
it would be interesting to measure. There probably can't be more than a quarter or 3/8 of an inch difference between cutting it at that lengthen and shorten line or lengthening at the bottom. But the concept is you decide what you want the circumference at the bottom to be. And if you want it to be the original circumference of this shirt, then you split the pattern.
And
But if you want the dress to be whatever width it's going to be when you take it down, and by the time you add 18 inches, maybe it adds an inch, which maybe would mean like 4 inches, I'm guessing,
right.
3 or 4 inches, 2 to 4 inches, whatever, at the bottom, with a little bit of a swing to it or an A to it, then you lengthen it at the bottom. So you do have to decide that.
Because that hem is open like that, you don't
Yeah.
have to have quite so much because it's going to give you some room to walk anyway.
Well, that's true. This is also a hem that you could curve. Would you ever do that? Like a shirt tail?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think the one that Erin is wearing, I think, was that done on that? Can we see? No, I guess not. I was thinking it had been, but no, not at all. But that's probably got 14 to 18 inches of length to it. But people ask me all the time if, they can lengthen the sleeve, so to speak, the sleeve band. And yes, you can, but there is, I think, somewhat of a limit. You can't really make this into a sleeve.
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
You can make it into a wider band. You can not turn it up, that sort of thing. But
Right.
it really is just a trim to the opening. But one thing to caution, I think, this is the opening, let's say, for, I think this is size small. I don't even remember what size you made, but
My label's there.
they're simply, yeah, hold that pattern piece up again on that board. And let's look at there's some dots for the sizes.
Here? Yeah, I
Right.
used medium.
Are those in a line? They are in a line, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
So the grading happens at the shoulder. Okay, so some people find this to be a little too small. Well, what I would do is trace that arm's eye. Let's say you're going to make a small, but you want a medium or a large arm's eye opening. I would trace that arm's eye curve and I would move it. I would move it down and trace that, so you're opening it up more. Does that make sense?
So if I'm making a small, I would
dot
go
be
out.
lower.
like to here?
Yeah, you would trace the curve and then just take the tracing and move it down.
Okay.
And move it down as much as you want. It could be an inch, it could be 3/4 of an inch, it could be a half an inch, whatever. And then you would add to the band, to the length of the band. It's funny how, I answer questions like that and just say, use the dot for the bigger size. But now I realize the dots are in the same line and the grading is up here, which does help. So, like the grading, that the arm's eye of a large would be larger because it's cut differently at the shoulder, but not a
Yes.
lot. And that's another possibility if you just need a little bit. Anyway.
I think it's pretty voluminous though. Gives you lots of room. But
Yeah, but some people want more room. I've had that question more than once.
okay.
So, yeah, because this is a garment that is pretty generous, I think, all over.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people who might be a medium could probably make a small. Some people can go down a size in this. I know I can. I can wear a small in it. I have a small on. But of course, I measure a medium. So, there you go. But yeah, so this is the feature fabric of the day that we're really excited about. Really, really good. So
It's nice and cool and
yeah, it's a nice weight. It's
almost like a Tana lawn.
It is kind of like it is. It's not a Liberty, but it has that flavor to the feel of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's very fresh.
Yep. All right. Anything else we need to say about this? One thing, I keep yanking at this because it wants to fall back on me. And so I didn't make this one that I have on, but if I were to make one for myself, I would need to balance the shoulders, meaning take a half an inch all the way across off of the front and add it to the back because I keep yanking at it.
Interesting. Okay.
But other kinds of pattern work like what? A lot of shoulder seam work, you probably don't have to really do that much. Might not have to do a round back adjustment. This is just it's basically a very, I'll call it a high-end camp shirt. How about that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Or yes, I think it's very cute. You could
So
easily
you
add
can-
little pockets on the front if you wanted to.
That would be really cute. Yeah, 1 pocket, 2 pockets. You could probably, depending on the fabric, fold the hem to the outside
Oh yeah.
and put a pocket opening in there.
That's a great idea.
Now you
Yes.
can't do it on this probably because the back is not quite as good looking as the front, but it is a pretty good idea.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that was a really darn good idea.
That is a good idea. You get to it.
But yeah, I've seen some garments like this that, traditional pockets, weird pockets, whatever. All right, so you love an exaggerated collar.
I do. I don't know why.
Well, I was just going to ask you why, and you don't know why. Okay.
I don't know why. I see them on a lot of different things.
Well, I think that's what it's all about. This is common in the kinds of designer people that you follow, don't you think?
Yes, I do. And I have seen them made really exaggerated,
Right.
exaggerated. So this is calm.
Yeah.
Compared.
But I like it. I like it a lot. And
Yeah.
granted, maybe from the camera it doesn't show up a lot because of this print. But when you're seeing it like this. Oh, the other thing you did, Samantha, is you did double buttons in a couple of places.
Oh, that's right. I had been in Vegas, and in the Robert Graham store, they had shirts with different buttons, and they would have like 2 and 1 and 3 and 1. And
Yeah.
so I did it on that when I came back.
All right. So they're a little hard to see, but like here's 2, here's 1, 2, and 1.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very clever.
Yep.
But yeah,
That's just
we
fun.
talked about Robert Graham a couple of weeks ago, I think, as someone to follow for great details on shirts.
Oh man, I don't know how they do some of the things they do, but it's
I know,
impressive.
it's amazing. Well, the shirts aren't cheap, but they're not like incredibly out of range either. So it is amazing, actually.
Yes. I mean,
Well, speaking of collars, one of the things that I like to do, and I got the idea from Kathy Davis, is to add the Zen collar
to the
this.
cottage?
Yes.
Awesome.
So it looks like this.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so the Zen collar is actually two collars, one that is a little shorter than the other, and the higher one is on the outside. So when you put them together, you have one on the right side of the fabric, you have one on the wrong side of the fabric, you bring them together and you stitch. It's like a French seam. It's fantastic. So you have you don't have to have a facing, you don't have to have any kind of serging. It looks good on the inside, it looks good on the outside. And for people like Kathy Davis and me, we like to have, see, I can't figure out what's going on with this collar. It wants to open up. But see, this is kind of too open for me in a way. It's not bad, but you know, I can wear a necklace to kind of fill in, but whatever. But this, see, fills in without being super like a turtleneck. It doesn't feel like winter. It just sort of works. So I've got another one here that kind of shows that you can do then contrasting colors. Like the inside one is yellow here and the outside one is black and white. So that gives it a totally different look. And another way to piece it or color block it or whatever. So how do you do that? Well, I think Alex has a graphic maybe we can look at. This is kind of rudimentary. I drew this yesterday on my iPad and I'm not very good at it. But so first of all, you have to measure the cottage shirt neckline. So you see on the back, I've labeled it A. You're going to measure from the center back fold. Now you're going to measure finished measurements. So you use a curve runner, which I've poorly drawn up there, and you're going to measure on the seam line, and I go ahead and mark that with a pencil. So I'm exactly on the seam line. You're going to measure to the shoulder dot, and then you're going to repeat that for the front, but you're going to go to the center front. Now, we just heard that Samantha cut that off, add seam allowances or whatever, but the center front stays as the center front. So you're going to go to the center front and also stop measuring at the dot, at the neckline, at the shoulder line. All right, so because it's, you're going to take those two measurements and you're going to add those together and multiply it by 2 to get the complete circumference of your garment. Now, it kind of depends on whether your collar piece is cut on the fold or if it's a full collar piece. So in this case, I have drawn it as a full collar piece. So this is one of the Zen collars, and you just simply measure the length of that from dot to dot. So you're not measuring the seam allowances at the ends. And you compare that to the measurement that you've just gotten up there, which we're calling C. So C has to match D. They have to be the same length. And so if they're not, you're going to make an adjustment. And we know that the Zen collar is a little bit smaller than the cottage neckline. So at the center back, which would be the center of that collar, or if it's on a fold, it would be at the fold line, you're going to add. So in this, you know, I think it's something like 3/4 inch or whatever the number is, you're going to add that at the center back. If the collar is on the fold, you're going to add half of that. If it's a full collar piece, you're going to add the full amount. So I hope that makes sense. But you can transpose a lot of different collars onto a lot of different necklines, and that's how you do it. And then when you stay stitch, since we recommend stay stitching on the seam line, you've got, you know, that is the that seam line on the collar has to match the stay stitching when you sew it on, because that's what you measured on the pattern pieces. Okay. So, any questions that we need to answer now, Alex? Either for Samantha or me or whoever.
Yeah, there's a comment about this pattern. This person has avoided this pattern because of the burrito process.
Of the what process?
Burrito.
Oh, burrito. Oh, really? Okay. What she's talking about, is there more to the question?
It's more a comment, but they just mentioned how they've avoided getting the hang of the burrito process, so have avoided the pattern, having tried a toil. I also have the PDF, but still can't get the hang of it.
Okay.
Are they talking about the Zen Collar?
No, they're talking about how the back yoke.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So when you sew it together, you've got this tube that's 2 pieces of yoke, and you roll the garment into the inside of that yoke, and then you pull it out.
Right.
This is a pretty good size yoke. This is one of the easier ones to do it on. Maybe you've tried it in the past on something where it has a very narrow yoke. That's harder. This is a good one to try it on again, but you know what? You don't have to. You can do it in the traditional way if you choose to. You don't have to do a burrito method on this garment. You can construct the outer yoke to the back, and you can sew the inner yoke to the shoulder seams and turn that bottom edge and slip stitch or top stitch, and you're fine. But I wouldn't avoid this garment for that reason, for 2 reasons. This really is a big expanse to get that short shirt rolled into. I've done some ones that are very tight, but this one should be a little bit easier to do. But it is a matter of rolling the fronts, rolling the backs, and sitting them within this space. And then you can, with the right sides together, sew the bottom, sew the yokes together at the bottom.
Samantha, what fabric is the dress you're wearing?
This is just a nice light cotton, very similar to this.
We don't
I
have
bought
that.
from y'all.
We don't have that in stock anymore. Samantha thinks it's from 2019, but it was Sewing Workshop fabric, but it kind of has this texture to it also in the squares.
Yes.
Is it like a seersucker? Is it a little bit puckery? It's like
Yes.
a little bit of a seersucker? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I bought this a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
I try to buy any kind of cottons like this when y'all have them, because that's definitely for my area.
Yeah. And that black and white check, everybody needs to have a couple yards of that in their stash, whether it's this garment or something else. We use that fabric all the time for trims, little edges, whatever. It's just a fantastic, you can put black and white with anything and it'll give it a pop.
Well, and this would have been cute to do the pockets on the diagonal.
Yeah, it would have.
Front of that.
Uh-huh.
So the hem on Samantha's cottage shirt appears to be straight. Was the hem altered on the cottage that Linda is wearing? It appears to be longer at the side seams and across the back.
Well, anytime, see, I can go like this, which is the shape of the pattern, and my hems are straight. Anytime you put a square or a rectangle on a body and lower your arms, the fabric has to drape and go somewhere. But the hems are straight. So I don't know, I think it's the drape of this is a little more than what this is, but you can see that this is not straight. It's lower on the sides, even on this dress form. See that? That's the nature of that shape of a garment. It is sort of a kimono type shape. The plaza jacket does that. A lot of garments do that. A lot of our garments do that.
There's a general comment that it seems like the collar and stand is too large for the shirt, so they've made some adjustments to make it fit.
Oh. Well, I don't know. I've made the cottage a lot and I've not noticed that. Makes me wonder if you're doing enough clipping to the stay stitching to open that seam up. That's really important. But you know what? It's not a problem. We talked about making an adjustment at the center back. If your collar is consistently too big, figure out if there's a common denominator number, like 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch or whatever, and just take it out of the center back, and you should be okay. But my guess is you're not stay stitching on the seam line and you're not clipping enough to the seam line to open it up. That would be my guess.
What is the heaviest fabric you would use for the Zen Collar?
Gosh. You can get pretty heavy on that.
I mean, it would look cool in a denim, even.
Right. I have one on the rack here that's pretty heavy, actually. I know it's hard to see weight of fabric on the screen, but this is an African fabric, and it's a pretty heavy cotton. Of course, this isn't the Zen, but this is a collar and stand, which is probably harder, actually. I mean, what'd you say? Yeah, there's no collar on it, but yeah, this is a cottage that's been lengthened. It happens to be kind of a wool Melton, but see, even this. So the outside of this is the stand only, which is another option if you don't want the collar. But I think I made this, didn't I? I think I did. I put wool on the outside and I put lining fabric on the inside. And so you might consider something like that on the Zen collar if you've got fabric that's pretty heavy.
Is the collar asymmetric on the cottage?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
No, if you're looking at what I have on, for some reason, it is splaying out. I should have pressed it, I guess. But here's the collar if I were to button it up. And you can see that it's totally symmetrical. If I could button it, my fingers would work. Ugh. Okay, there it is, buttoned up. So weird.
You look like Kathy Davis.
I do. This is how she would wear it, and she would have on her $20 Target necklace with it. Actually, that's a pretty good look. I could wear a piece of jewelry or something there. It's better than that one splayed out. Okay.
There's a fitting question. I need to make a full bust adjustment in most patterns. I have made the cottage without making that adjustment and it tents out. Would you recommend lengthening a couple of inches or simply making a full bust adjustment? I am also tall.
I would make a full bust adjustment without a dart and probably add an inch or two to the center front. I think you need both of them.
Show us the curve runner that we sell.
Ah, thank you for saying that. This is the best tool I've found in the last 10 years. So it has a wheel. See if we can get it to, you just have to look at it. Okay, so it has a wheel with numbers on it that goes to 12. You start on 0. You do have to keep track of how many times you go past 12. But you just run this along any seam line. This isn't just for necklines. This is for everything that you want to measure. It's so much more accurate than a tape measure that's sitting on its edge. But we sell these. They make a small one. We like the bigger one better.
How do you put the Zen collar together?
Well, basically, you're making two collars. you're making, you put the, let's say, outer collar together, right sides together, and you're sewing the ends and the top. And then you put the smaller pieces together, right sides together, sew the ends and the top. So you're making two kind of finished collars with open bottom edges. So you put one of them on the right side of the outside of the garment. You put another one on the inside of the garment. And you're going to trim that seam down to about 1/4 inch. And you're going to bring those, so you sew both those collars on. So you're sewing through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of fabric. And then you bring those two collars together. And you sew along the neckline seam at about 3/8 of an inch or so that the 1/4 inch trimming of the neck seam is encased in the seam. Let's see if I can show that on anything. You might be able to see this. See that seam right there? That is the seam that is encasing the neck seam.
That's the gasoline shirt, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. It survived.
I can't believe it.
I know. It washed beautifully. Smells good. Yeah.
There are a few more questions, so hang tight. Samantha, do the cottons you wear have to be pressed or ironed?
I'm generally a lazy girl and do not press or iron unless I'm going to be on live with you guys. Because in my climate, if I as soon as I go outside, the wrinkles go out anyway with the humidity. So I don't really need to, especially linens. There's no point.
There has been some difficulty in applying the cottage sleeve band. Do you have any tips?
Well, I don't think we say this in the pattern, but one thing that might help you, I'm assuming it's down here that's the problem. You could just sew, put that pattern back up, Samantha, so we can look at it. All right. So you could sew the side seam and stop at the dot. I think probably in the directions we tell you to sew it completely up, but that would open that up above the dot and probably make it easier to attach the armband. Does that make sense? I don't know what the instructions say.
Okay. How much extra fabric are we recommending for the dress?
We think well, Samantha might be able to answer this, but we think the dress would take about 3.5 yards.
I think that
of the floral.
Definitely 3.5 yards. You should be able to get it.
Okay.
3 is sometimes not enough.
Yeah.
When you're lengthening.
Especially this, if you're going to do this deep hem at the bottom of the dress. Would you do the deep hem at the bottom of the dress?
I would. I think that would be fun. As you're walking, you would see that color.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, just getting my screens right here. All right, so Samantha, did you make a buttonhole in the stand? I have difficulty in that area with my machine-made buttonholes.
I did not, because I also have difficulty. And I never button that top button. Like there's supposed to be one in this dress, and I don't have it. So I just leave it off. I don't fool with it anymore. I'm tired of trying to make it work. So.
Okay, so here's the trick on that.
Tell us.
So first of all, when I'm doing buttonholes, I'm starting at the bottom It's like practice, start here, come up. And when I get to both the top button on the band and the buttonhole on the stand, I'm gonna come at those buttonholes a different direction. So it's our tendency to sit the garment like this. So we're going to make the buttonhole like this. You want to make the buttonhole like this, going that way. And the reason is that, at least for my Bernina, and I'm using my automatic buttonholer foot, it wants to sit level. And it can't sit level because the back end of the presser foot is sitting on this stacked seam allowance inside of this stand. But over here, it's level. So because I've made these buttonholes, I can measure exactly what length it's making it. So I can mark the length of this buttonhole on this stand really easily. And then I know where to start at I'll call it the back end of the buttonhole. I don't always cut them open. Even though I might have a buttonhole and a button, I might leave the buttonhole uncut. I've done that. But the same thing happens here. If you try to come down and do a buttonhole here, the back end of your presser foot is on this stand. It doesn't like it. You go the other way.
Right. Okay.
Can we see the inside of the shirt to show off the burrito method?
Yes, I don't know that you're going to see anything different about it. Well, here, I don't have to take this one off. A burrito method just means that the bottom yoke seam is machine sewn and you're catching 3 layers. If you're not doing the burrito method, you've got 2 layers by machine and 1 layer by hand. But here's the inside of the back. And you can see that that is your seam. Nice and clean. No slip stitching, no top stitching, no whatever. So it's not going to really, if you're a good slip stitcher, you're not really going to see a difference. It's just one more step. But an easy step.
All right, and can we review again the steps Samantha did to change her cottage shirt?
Yeah, you want to do that, Samantha?
Sure. I would think they're talking about, well, we'll just go through it all. So I exaggerated my collar. This is the original pattern piece. And then I just made it a little more pointy and wide. Then on the bottoms of both fronts and the bottom of the back, I took off where the hem would be, added 5/8 to the part that the hem that will be turning up, and 5/8 to the finished garment so that I can turn that up nicely, and you'll see that. Then I did the same thing with the front button placket.
There you go.
Which is actually just a turn back. It's not really a button placket. So I made a separate piece, added 5/8 to it and 5/8 to my original. And then on the actual sleeve, I did one side. I don't think I did a pattern. I just cut it twice. Let me see if I have it. Yes. So I think I just cut this twice and sewed it. Didn't I? Can you tell from my original garment?
That's correct. You added a 5/8 inch seam allowance, but maybe you didn't, which wouldn't matter really. But yeah, I think you just cut it twice. Yeah. I can't tell. Well, I guess I can tell.
Well, sometimes I do that. I just add add it. I just lay my ruler
Yeah,
5/8 out.
this is longer. Instead, let's see. So the band is normally this wide.
So I doubled it.
And you use the whole piece
Yes.
and cut it twice. Yeah. And then you did the piping.
Oh, I keep forgetting about that. I
Yeah.
did that because of, with cutting the button placket, I thought you barely can see it in the button placket. So I was like, we have to try to add that somewhere else.
Well, and you don't have to match the patterns then.
Yes.
Have you ever looked at the yokes of men's shirts? They never match.
Oh, you're right. And same with their pockets. A lot of times they don't match. Like
Right.
we think they need to match.
They are cut on a different grain. The pattern is the fabric is flipped. So if it's a plaid, it just never matches. And then you did your 2 buttons, 1 button, 2 button thing.
Thank you for. I should write all this down.
Well, I've got it right in front of me, so it's a lot easier. And you made it a long time ago. Not a long, long time ago, but you've done a few things since then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I should get better about writing it down, but
that's all right.
It's a fun pattern. I don't think you should be afraid of the burrito method. And I think adding the Zen collar would make it fantastic. It's a great summer.
Some people just
shirt.
don't like to do the stands, the collar and stand thing. And that prevents them also from making garments like this. So that Zen collar is so easy. And this is, once you get the hang of this, it's better. But we have a tutorial called Collars and Stands, and there are, I believe, 2 methods in there of doing this. One of the things that does help me make a stand is I have little templates that have that curve on it.
Yes.
And I have them in a little stack, and I've labeled them Cottage or Florence or whatever it is, and it does help me get a better, at least they're both the same. If I've done it badly, I've done it badly twice, which does help.
Because it never, even, you can be so careful. I feel like I've been so careful, especially when I'm making a garment for you guys, and it doesn't work sometimes.
I know.
I don't know how that happened, but
I don't know either.
Yep.
All right, shall we look at some fabric, Alex, or do we have more questions?
There are a few more questions.
Okay.
Samantha, do you feel the need to wear a slip under your dresses?
Never. It would be way too hot for me. Even a cotton slip, it would just be more clothes, more stuff. No, never.
What are the drawers behind you? We need them, and what do you keep in them, and how big are they?
Well, these are not that big of drawers. I can here is a drawer with all my elastics. So I just have them separated by buttons, snaps, zippers. I have short zippers, long zippers. I have fusee web, because y'all know I love my fusee web.
That takes a whole drawer.
I have a whole drawer with just fusee web and pressing templates and things like that. So they're not that big, but it does help me stay more organized here in my sewing room. Threads. That's probably it. Journals, which are mostly from Linda. All those, and my sewing workshop labels. Office supplies, tape, glues. So nothing very exciting, but it does help me stay more organized.
And just to remind everyone, you are wearing the Detour pattern as a dress. We have never really featured this any other time. So you made that years ago, or a few years ago, and it's a variation of our Detour pattern.
Yes, and I think I'm doing another one coming up that y'all will see again soon.
For collars and stands in a tutorial, we have it in PDF version, but we do have it in various online workshops. So if you purchase certain online workshops that mention where you'll learn the collar and stand technique, you can get that online workshop and watch Linda put in a collar and stand. I can think of the whistles shirt. That would be one. No.
No.
Okay. Tell us which ones.
Well, the cottage shirt is in one of them. Isn't that what you're asking which ones are on a video or which ones are PDF?
Video.
Video. Okay. So there's a whole, you want to talk? Go ahead.
I can't. I'm trying to think of which one would be a
So there's
video.
The cottage shirt.
Those are tutorial PDF.
We don't have a cottage shirt video.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, boy, that's harder to think of than you think.
What about the hibiscus?
Hibiscus would definitely be one.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's a video.
Mm-hmm.
The Florence, we've done that as a video.
True. And we could find the answers and post them.
Yeah, we could post those.
But the hibiscus is a really good one. That's a good collar technique.
I think either I think those are two good ones, hibiscus and Florence, and they're two different years.
Correct.
So that might help some of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's about the best we can come up with on the spot.
All right, I think that's all the questions I see.
Okay, well, let's just highlight the fabrics a little bit. We really are featuring this Marimekko-style print. And these are some coordinates. Now, the coordinates that Samantha used are the black and white check, which everybody needs 2 yards of, and the green, which is a very lightweight, kind of like a cotton poplin, but all cotton. These are all cotton. But this is interesting. Here's a woven stripe, Guatemalan, that really is fun. That could even just be, I mean, all of these actually could be interchangeable. This is a little blue and white railroad stripe. And then we have the poplin in a couple of other great colors as well, the fuchsia and this citrus yellow. So, you know, you need about 2.5 yards of the floral to do the cottage shirt. And if you're going to do what Samantha did for the bottom hems, the sleeves, the undercollar and stand and all of that, you're going to need about 1 yard of a poplin, and you're going to need about 1 yard of the black and white check. Now, that's because things are kind of the bias. And yes, you can probably get it out of a 1/2 yard, or if you're using something else. But I like to have 1 yard to work with when I'm cutting bias. It just makes my life so much easier.
What else is on sale?
The 2 tutorials, well, 3 tutorials. There's 2 on the cottage, are there?
Correct. There's the first one on the cottage is just a base, you know, it has how you make a cottage, and there's a few other patterns with it.
Okay.
And then the second one talks about the cottage tunic or dress.
Okay. And then the collars and stands.
Correct.
Tutorial. That's what's on sale this week. Fabrics and tutorials.
Is the cottage pattern on sale?
Oh yes, the cottage pattern.
Cottage
Of course.
pattern, digital and print.
Yeah, digital and print. Oh yeah, that.
All right. Thanks, Samantha.
Thank y'all.
Yeah,
That was
thank you,
fun.
Samantha. It's always fun to see you and work with you, and we have a lot of fun together. So.
Yes, we do. I enjoy it.
All right, everybody. Well, we will see you next week once again.